All right. Good morning, everybody. Today is Daf Lamed Days and Lamed Gimel. All right. So we left off at the top. We're talking about Bris Milah. Actually, going to be talking about it until the end of the parak. So 2 lines from the top. All right. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Aimer, Lila Moshe Rabbeinu BK Sudden Laharai Isatina. It wasn't necessarily Moshe Rabbeinu that the son was looking to kill. Rather, it was the Eliezer. Shinamar is the pasuk, is his son, the baby that was supposed to get a bris milah. Shinamar, the pasuk says, "Ki chasen damim atali," right? Because he was referred to a chasen damim, and say, "Re'mi kori chasen." And who's called chasen? Havi Aimer is Zatina. Sure. I can wait for it, Ron. Yeah. So that is referring to the Tinok. He was the chasen damim. He was the one who Shadara Shabi Yehuda Bar Bizna B'Shash Shenis Rasha Moshe Rabbeinu Min Amila. So Bo Af V'Chema Ubalu. So when Moshe Rabbeinu delayed the Bris Milah, came Af V'Chema, 2 different Shadim came and swallowed him up. Lo Yisharu Mimenu Ela Raglav El Raglav. The only area basically they swallowed his entire body, except for they left his makom milah exposed. So Miyad immediately seeing that, Batikach Tzipara Tzur Baticha says Arlas Beno, and so she saw that. So she saw the hint. So she went. Tzipara went, took a rock, right, and a stone, and used it to do a bris milah upon her son. Miyad immediately Vayarif Mimeno, right, and immediately. So then I guess it released. Yeah.
Down too, so it's too late.
So it released the, so I guess they released from the stronghold. And Moshe Rabbeinu says, you know what? Maybe this time I'll go ahead and I'll finish them off once and for others. Right, so it says over there basically to remove af and chema. Some say not just he wanted to kill, actually Chema Harugu, right? Chema was actually killed. It says Chema Imli. So there was no Chema. It says later on in the Torah, it says Ki Yagorais Mipnei Ha'afa Chema. So I mentions Chema again, referring to this demon of I guess destruction and anger. So Trei Chema Havi. So you can say there's 2 different Chemas. You could say Gunda the Chema, or maybe there was like a whole army of Chemas, and that was one of them that he killed at the time.
Those are big Mars that you'll never understand.
Yeah.
Why you feel you'll never understand.
Agreed. Yes. So Tanya, we learn in the Brayso Rabbi Yaimer, we don't find anyone that was involved in mitzvahs. Like Avram Avinu, and nevertheless he was only called Tamim, right? He was whole, right? Only after Milah Shinamarav he saw like Lefanav Tamim, right? Go before me, he had Tamim after the bris milah. See Vatnana Brisi Beini Venecha. Now give my bris between me and you. And Davarache Gedalim Sheshkula connected mitzvah Shabbat. Right, the greatest bris milah that it's equal to all the mitzvahs in the Torah. Shinamarav says Ki Alpi Hadrim Ha'ela. These things, and the pasuk over there says bris, referring to bris milah. That was connected all the other the mitzvahs. Davaracher. Gedoyla milah shimalei milah nis kamisham haaretz. If it wasn't for milah, then there wouldn't be miskayim the shemayim haaretz. Shneimar's the pasuk says. This is brought in the Mishnah. In Labrisi, Mambalayla v'chu. Right? If there wasn't the bris, and there wouldn't be Yom Mambalayla day and night. And that was referring to the brisi because of the bris milah. Wasn't bris milah, actually was Torah. Shemalei Torah ladies kamisham haaretz. If it wasn't for Torah, then the heavens and the earth would not have been created. Shneimar the pasuk says, "In lo barisi yom havlayla chukas shemayim v'aretz." Right? Loisanti is referred to chukos. So therefore, there was the Torah that was connected kulam, and then that was connected the reason for the creation of the world. I would almost say you just missed it. The chasen damim, I guess the deity of the chasen. We're Lamed Beis Amud Aleph, right smack in the middle.
All about Brit Milah.
Yeah.
All about Brit Milah.
So Amar Rav Yudam Rav B'Shash Amar Allah Hakadosh Baruch Hu Avram Avinu He said L'fanav V'Yatamim, and Hakadosh Baruch Hu told Avram Avinu go before him V'Yatamim. So Avram Avinu became nervous. Lamed Beis Amud Aleph. He became nervous. However, perhaps there's something wrong with me, and therefore basically he wants me to be punished. So, however, once he was told that I will give a covenant between me and you, then he was appeased. Then he went outside. He said, right? I went out, I understand that I looked out at my mazel, right? And some changed the lashon here, and it says ve'ein li ela beinecha. So it says he went out, and some changed and says ve'ein li, right? It says some says ve'ein li bein, right? And I says, some gives, right? I don't have either one son, perhaps referring to Ishmael, or I won't have any children from my wife Sarah. So Amar Eloi, HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Avraham Avinu to say, go off in the astrology that you look at. Ein mazel Yisrael, there is no mazel Yisrael. Rather, don't worry about what you look in the future, what you see in the stars, because the Jews are not held by those laws. And Omar Rabbi Yitzchak called Hamatmim Atzma, whoever makes himself wholesome, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Matmim Lima, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will make him tamim also. Shnei Amar, the pasuk says, Im chassid is chassid, im gaver tamim titamim. So with one with righteousness, he will deal righteously, and also one with who is wholesome, he will deal with in wholesome. And Amar Rabbi Yisha called Hamatmim Atzma Shah Matmim Atzma Shah Medisloi. Whoever makes himself wholesome and tamim, then the Shah Medislo. Then it will be a good moment for him. Good in time. Shnei Amar said, Yisalich lefanai v'yitamim. Go before me, v'yitamim. Uksiv v'yislava haman goyim. And it says he'll be the father to the nation. So we see that since he was tamim, then he was rewarded to be Haman goyim. And Amar Rebbe kol manachish. Whoever seeks to go ahead and seeks the future and asks in the future to change the future, loy nachash. To him, he will have the future said, but poorly. Shnei Amar, the pasuk says, Kiloi nachash b'Yakov. It says over there by Bilam, right? So it says Kiloi nachash b'Yakov, right? So the Yaakov il nachash, right? By Yaakov Avinu. So the Jews did not look for divine intervention. It says not low to him, rather low. Won't, right? So Ela Mishum Mida Keneged Mida. Rather, the reason is that if you're Menachesh, the reason of Menachesh is because Mida Keneged Mida. If you look to go ahead and change the future, then you'll have the future change, but it will be, or future telling. Then you'll have the future told, but in a bad way. And Tani Ahava B'Eid Ramzera Kol Adam Shein Menachesh Nachnisim Aisam B'Chitza Shafilu B'Alchei Sharetz Enichon L'Kanis B'Seicha. That a person is not worried or concerned about the future, doesn't go to a future seekers, right? And then those he will be in a spot. Even Malchei Sharis cannot enter. Shnei Amar, the pasuk says the same pasuk we just brought Kilo Nachesh V'Yakov L'Kisa B'Yisrael, and the end of the pasuk says, right? No, say Yema the Yaakov Yisrael Mapa Hashem. Ask what is Hashem doing? In other words, those who seek, right, to look into the future, they will not be able to see. They have to ask Yisrael, who does not look into the future, what is Hashem doing? Omar Rabbi Avo, Omar Rabbi Elazar, Mipnei Manesh Avram Avinu, Shabbat Banav L'Mitzrayim, Ma'asayim B'Esr Shanim. What was the reason why Avram Avinu was punished, and then his descendants will be enslaved in Egypt for 210 years? Mipnei Shasa Angaria. Because he made the war, he used the Talmud Chacham for war. Shnei Amar, as the pasuk says, "Vayarek es chanicha yelidei beiso." Right, because over there he says that he took out those who were in his house. Yelidei beiso. Yelidei beiso means those that he brought close to Hashem, those he brought the ways to Hashem. He took them out to wage war against the kings. Shmuel Amar Mipnei Shehifriz Al Midaisav Shakadosh Baruch Hu, because he didn't, I guess, trust Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Shnei Amar says B'Ma'ida Ki'Ashana. Right? How do I know? In other words, he was told, and then he was told that this would happen to descendants, and he wanted to know, okay, do you have any proof? So because of that, they were in the Shabdu for 210 years. Rabbi Yechon Amar Shehifriz B'nei Adam Milachanis Tachas Kanfei Hashchina, because he had an opportunity to bring those under the Kanfei Hashchina, closer to Hashem, and he did not take the opportunity. Shnei Amar, the pasuk says, "Tenli anefesh v'aruchush kach l'cha." So it says the king of Sodom says, "Okay, here, I'll take the people, you take the money." And perhaps Avram Avinu could have negotiated to take some of the people to bring them back under Kanfei Shechina, but he says, you know what, I don't want anything from you, and therefore he lost that opportunity. Vayarek as Chanicha Yelidei Beso. It says of the Yarek, what's the Yarek? Amar Shaharika B'Torah, right? He emptied the B'Torah, in other words, he took him out of Torah to go ahead and fight the war with him.
Regarding Abraham,
What?
he saw Sodom, and Melech Sodom approached it. So in his vision, his Sodom destruction, why it would take diseased people.
Well, that's just right. He wanted
Yeah, he
people.
missed the opportunity, but
Yeah.
it's Sodom. If it was another nation,
If anybody could have done Kiruv, that doesn't matter.
It's Sodom.
Whatever Kiruv organization Yigal that you support, Avram Avinu, the Eish Torah was no Avram Avinu. Right? Shmuel Amar Sharika Bazal.
Good answer.
Yeah, he filled them with gold, right, for war. And the pasuk says Shmona Asar Shlosh Meos 318. And Amar Rabbi Bar Abba Eliezer Keneged Kulam. Eliezer was as great, as mighty as all of them. And Ikad Ami, some say Eliezer who. Actually, the 318 is referring to Eliezer. Why? The Chushbinu Hachiyav, because that's the gematria of Eliezer. If you go ahead and add up the letters of Eliezer. And speaking of gematria, Amar Rabbi Ami Bar Abba Ben Gimel Shanim Hikir Avram Esbaro. At the age of 3, Avram Avinu recognized his creator. Shneimar, the pasuk says, Eikav Asher Shama Avram Bekoli. So it says Eikav, right? Because of that, Avram listened to my voice. And Chushbina Meya the Shiva train. And then if you go ahead and do the Cheshbon, the Gematria of Ekev is 172. Avram Avinu listened to HaKadosh Baruch Hu 172 years. We know Avram Avinu lived to the age of 175. So therefore, basically from the age of 3, he followed in the ways of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Amar Rabbi Rami Bar Abba says, Abba Hasatan, the Gematria, the Chushbina, the Gematria, the word Hasatan with the hay. Klas Meya Ushisin Ve'arba is 364, one less than the 365, the amount of days in the solar year. And what is that reference to? As the Ram points out, that is Yom Kippur. So the Satan is basically free to roam besides Yom Kippur. The Amar of Abba Ksiv, it says there Abra. Ksiv Abraham, and it also says Abraham. He's named later on Abraham. So in the beginning, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu basically he ruled over the that I guess he gave Avram Avinu the ability to go ahead and to rule over 243 Avarim. It was safe in the end. He mlichol masayim v'arba v'shmeina Avarim. So, but in the end, he gave Avram Avinu the ability to control 248. There were 5 limbs that were added when after he became Avraham and Elohim. Shtei einayim, shtei eznayim, v'rosh hagiva. That was his 2 eyes. He was able to control what he saw. Shtei eznayim, and that which he heard. And v'rosh hagiva, his makamila, he was in control of all these Evar. The Amr, Bar Abba, my Dechsilas was mean Ir Katana. So the pasuk in Koheles, it says Ir Katana v'nashim v'chulei. So now we're going to darshan all the words of the pasuk. The pasuk over there basically refers to there was a small town, and they were surrounded by a great king, and they built around it. They put the city under siege, and then they found an elder, a chacham, who basically saved the city. So who is this? Er Katana Zahaguf. The Er Katana is referring to the body. Vanashim ba muat elibar. It had a small amount of people. That was referring to the limbs. Ubalach Amelach Gadol v'Savi v'Isa, and a great king surrounded it. Zeh Yetzahara. That's referring to the Yetzahara. Ubanale Metzutim v'Charamim built a siege around it. Elu Avanas has different averas, right, to go ahead and control the body. Umatzah Ish Mesuka Mesachin v'Chacham Miskein v'Chacham, and an elder. And wise man, and he came to save. And who was that? That the Yetzer Tov, Umelihu as Air, and say the city B'Chachmasa with his wisdom. So Tshuva U'Maisim Tovim. So Tshuva U'Maisim Tovim were the protector and what turned around the city inside. The Adam Leizachar Sa'ish Hamisken. And man did not go ahead and remember Isha Miskin, Sahud, and Shas Yitzhahara, lest the Mitkar the Yetzer Tov. During the time when the Yitzhahara is in full force, then a person will not remember his Yetzer Tov. And it says, HaChachma, another pasuk in Koheles, So it says that the wisdom is stronger, right? Is than 10 rulers. So Taiz the Chacham, the Tshuva Ma'asim Tovim, one that goes Tshuva Ma'asim Tovim, those are stronger than the 10 rulers. And who are they? Maser Shlitim, the basically 10 limbs are the 10 rulers. Shtei Inayim, that's 2. Shtei Oznayim, that's 4. Shtei Adayim, 2 hands, it's 6. Shtei Raglayim, there's 2 legs to go to do Averos, that's 8. The Reish Hagiva, the Makamila is 9. Bupet, and his mouth is 10. So those things can be controlled, right? Even though the Yetzer Hara is upon those things, the one that is Tshuva Ma'asim Tovim, that will be stronger than any of the Yetzer Hara and those items. And finally, Amar Rabbi Zachariah B'Shum Rabbi Yishmael Bikesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yitzi Kahuna Mishem. HaKadosh Baruch Hu want to go ahead and be mitzvah the kuna from Shem. Shnei Amar, the pasuk says, "V'hu Kohen l'Kel," right? That he was a Kohen, he was the Kohen. However, Kevan Shehitim Birchas Abram leBirchas Hamakom. However, once Shem came, right, who was also Malchi Tzedek, and he came and he was Mevarech, he blessed Avram Avinu, he blessed Hashem, but he did it in the order of first he blessed Avram Avinu, and then he blessed Hashem. Then Hoitzia me Abraham, and then therefore he says, you know what? Maybe Shem is not the one where the kuna should come from. Maybe that will come from Avram Avinu. Shnamar, the pasuk says, "Vayirachu," right? He blessed Vayomer Baruch Avram the Kelyon Kaneshem Baaretz Baruch Kelyon. So first he blessed Avram, and then he blessed Hashem, right? Bless Avram, who follows Hashem, and bless Hashem. Avram said, replied to the Shem, says, right? You go ahead and you first praise a servant before you praise his master. Why'd you praise me first? Right? You should have said, Baruch Kelayin, Baruch Avram Kelayin Kunishim Haaretz. So miyad, nasnali Avram. Immediately the kuna was given to Avram. Shnei the pasuk says, "Nu Hashem," by the words of Hashem, "La'adoni shev liyamini ad ayivecha hadam raglecha." It says that there be silent while I go ahead and I place, right, your enemies by your feet. Wasn't it Shem?
Wasn't it Shem?
Al dibarti Malchi Tzedek al diburo.
Was it
No, it
Shem?
says Malchi Tzedek. I'm sorry?
It was Shem, no?
That what?
That was Shem, Malchi Tzedek, no?
Yeah,
He
right.
gave Abraham the continuity. I mean, willingly too.
Yes. Right.
Hashem took the kuna.
Right. So and so what does this pasuk mean? So this pasuk says, right? So it says Nishba Hashem. So the pasuk that Hashem swore and he said, "V'lo yinachem," right? V'lo yinachem ata kohen li'olam. He says, right? You will rest, right? You're kohen li'olam al dibarti malki tzedek, right? And what does that mean? Al dibarti malki tzedek. Al diburo shemalki tzedek, because of the words of Malchi Tzedek. Because Malchi Tzedek first praised Avram Avinu and then praised Hashem, he wasn't fit for the kuna. Therefore, the kuna was given to Avram. He was therefore going to be the kohen li'olam and not Malchi Tzedek. Who kohen kelayon? It says the Gavi Shem. It says who kohen the kelayon? Who kohen the ein zara kohen? Dafka Shem was the kohen. That wasn't the original plan. But once he praised Avram Avinu, then it was just going to get cut off from there, and it wasn't his descendants. So Hajjallah Arba Nidarim. Mazel tov, finishing the third parak. Now we begin the fourth parak. Ein bein hamuder hano mechavero. Nai Mishnah, nai parak. Ein bein hamuder hano mechavero. Lemuder hamenu meichel. So a person, there is no difference between one who goes ahead and basically says, you cannot get any hana from me at all, from my property, to one who says, you cannot get any hana from my food. Ella, drisas haregel, v'kelim shein oisim behen oichel nefesh. But only referring to what types of hanas are different. Would be, let's say, doing drisas haregel, one who takes a shortcut through one's property, or perhaps one borrowing utensils that are not associated with food with Eichel Nefesh. So those items would still be forbidden from one's property if I ban someone from my property versus if I ban someone from my food. And and one who goes ahead and says, hey, you cannot go ahead and get any hana from from any of my food. Can't go ahead and lend them a sieve, or a mill or an oven or anything associated with the making food. But he can go ahead and lend them a garment, a ring, talus, earrings, right? Those things that are not associated with food. So that was the mission. So let's see the Gemara. So first of all, Man Tana, who is the Tana of our Mishnah that says even Drisas HaRegel is considered Hana, that one bans somebody from getting any Hana from me, that they would not be. So Man Tana, Amar Rav Ad Barava, Rabbi Eliezer, there's a opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, the Tanya, Rabbi Eliezer, Aimer, Afila Viter, Aser B'Meider Hana. So according to Rabbi Eliezer, he says even Vitor. Vitor is basically something extras. In other words, a person buys something in bulk. So sometimes you throw in, one or two extra items. So there, because there's no actual value to that item, they throw it in. It's something which is done.
You overlook it because it's got no value.
Right. So it's what's the word I'm looking for? It's yeah. All right, I forgot it. All right. Anyway. A word retrieval in this age. Anyways, so
so young.
Right? Something, right? Which is right.
What's the thing?
No. So no. So the point is something that he just gives, not graciously.
Nonchalantly.
Something that someone doesn't gratuitously, right? That's the right word. Yeah, gratuitously, right? Something gratuitously. So in such a case, if we find, let's say, by a person sells something, that's called vitor. So the extra couple doesn't make a difference. You're already buying the whole thing here. Take this extra, right? So people don't put a price on that. So what else does have a price? Taking a shortcut through someone's property. Taking a shortcut, the person doesn't charge for that. Anyone can go ahead and do it for free. So you might think that, let's say, so if it's something that's not paid for, l'chayra, that's not hana. I'm not benefiting from somebody if I say you can't cut through my yard, so I don't charge you to cut through my yard. So you're not benefiting by cutting through my yard because it's not something that people normally pay for. So therefore, you might think that would still be mutter. So, but according to Rabbi Eliezer, even those things that you don't pay for,
you're saving time.
You're saving time, but there's not a money value. There's not a money value. There's a machlokes. Since it's not something people pay for, according to Rabbi Eliezer, you're right. According to Eliezer, even though it's something you don't pay for, it's still considered a benefit. So therefore, according to Eliezer, something that you benefit from, even if it's something that has no monetary value, is still usher. According to Chachamim, no, if there's no monetary value, that's not hana. Hana is defined by what people will pay for. And since no one pays to walking through your property, so therefore, that's not considered hana. So, therefore, our Mishnah says, Drisas Regel, so therefore it must be according to the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, that is considered to be hana, and that's why it's us. And then we said, Hamayder Michael Mechavero Lo Yishalena V'chulei. One who goes is Mayder Dafka Michael, only food Lo Yishalena. You should not go ahead and borrow any of those items that are used to make food, right? A sieve, a grinder, right? A mill, right? Those type of items. So turn the page. Now this is today's daf. Lama Gimel. What's the big deal? He says food. These aren't food. These are, just Caleb. Why can't you borrow? So right? When he says, right, or basically the other way, he says any benefit from your food is upon me. So therefore, that includes those items that make food. Maybe the other things, the other food. Let's say, how is food used differently than eating? So, for instance, they used to go ahead and for a wound, they would go ahead and basically choose some wheat and they would put it upon wounds, right? So maybe that is what he's asking. Maybe the right? Any hana that brings to something to food. So now is anything that brings to food, i.e. items that are used to go ahead and make food, not necessarily, chewing the wheat and applying that to a wound. And Amara Papa, sak lahavi peiros, v'chomer lahavi alav peiros. So says Rav Papa, even a sackcloth that's used to go ahead and carry fruits, or a donkey that's used to transport peiros, or even a basket, that is considered to be hana, that is considered to be something that benefit. These are different types of hana that brings one to go ahead and eat food. So therefore, that would be included as same thing as those utensils because those are used to transport fruits. So what about this? A guy wants to borrow his friend's fancy horse, his fancy clothing, his fancy ring. So what's going to happen? He shows up, right, to the school reunion, and he has all these chashva items. And let's serve this guy. Let's give him the prime rib. Let's give him all the chashva things because he's wearing these items. So these items are actually mevia, right? Lidei oichel. Kind of, right? That's the shayla mahu. So mivzak umizel bari mai, right? So what about to go ahead and to take a shortcut, right, through someone's property to get to the food quicker? So Tashma, come listen about mashila yichaluk v'talis nizam. So our Mishnah says he's allowed to go ahead, and if he says meidir from food, he's allowed to go ahead and borrow his rings, his shirts, and his garments with the bows. So hey, then what's the case? If it's not to show them, it's just stam, a ring, and this and that. So you got to tell me that that's mutter. Of course that's mutter. What is food? What does a shirt have to do with food? Rather not. Maybe we're talking about things that the ring is talking about is used to show, hey, I'm a kosher person. Give me the good meal, right? And it says over there, nevertheless, you're allowed to go ahead and do it. So therefore, you see that maybe even taking his fancy horse or his fancy ring, whatever, to get better food, right, is mutter because we see that our Mishnah says those items are mutter. Otherwise, it's pointless to mention those in the Mishnah. We're answering no, low. Maybe those things are stam, not to show, nothing to do with getting better food or quicker food and all that. So why do you listen to Mishnah? Since the Mishnah want to list items that one was forbidden to go ahead and borrow, such as, right, the sieve or a grinder or a mill. So then the Mishnah just gave examples of things that you could borrow, but not necessarily any sort of chiddush with those limud. Fine. Now Mishnah. Mishnah says, "The chol davar she'em oisin boi eichel nefesh makom shemaskirin ki yetze ben aser." If a person forbids someone from food, so you can't go ahead. So you can go ahead and borrow non-food related items. However, unless those items are normally rented out, right? If I let you borrow my car. So even though it's not food related, but it's something that people normally rent the car for. So now by you borrowing my car, you would have had to go ahead and rent the car for $100. But now by you using my car, you have an extra $100 in your pocket, which you can go ahead and use that $100 on your dinner or half a dinner at Shallot's, right? So Michlal, the Reisha Maskirin. So we can learn over the Reisha says even though it's something that they don't rent out. So Montana, he says even though if it's something that there is no monetary value, right? Even though it's not something that's hana is one would pay for it. Nevertheless, that is still considered to be hana, as we saw according to Rebbe Eliezer, and therefore the Reish was talking about that. Even if it's something that's not rented out, it's forbidden to borrow. And according to this Mishnah, it's only items that are mutter if it's not rentable items. But if it's something you rent, that even is just mutter me'eichel, you wouldn't be able to use it because now you got extra money in your wallet, and that extra money can be used on food. Fine. What's in your wallet? My Mishnah. Hamoider haname chavero sheikeloi es shikloi eshkalo upares achayva umachzilo es avidaso. If one is moider haname chavero, I will not get any hana. I say I won't get any hana from Avrami. So nevertheless, he can go ahead and pay my machzis a shekel. Right? He can pay my machzis a shekel. He could also go ahead and pay Alan back my loan. That is not considered to me benefiting from Avrami. Either of these cases, him paying my machzis a shekel, him paying back my loan. We'll have to explain this case in the Gemara. And if he finds my lost item, he can return it to me. That's not considered to be me getting hana from Avrami. However, makom shalom laskar. But if it's a place where people get paid, right, to return lost items, right, you get paid to go to jury duty, right, you get the $17 or whatever it is. And people who return lost items, they have like a standard fee for the wasting of their time. or not wasting, but for the value of the time, then that money I can't go ahead and pay him because I'm not allowed to pay him, and I can't go ahead and not pay him because then I get to keep the money. So whether tipa no the hektish, then the money falls to hektish. In other words, yes, I have to pay the money, but the money doesn't go to him. The money goes to hektish. So that was the Mishnah. Now we say Mudar Hana Mechavero is allowed to go ahead and pay his shekel and allowed to go ahead and pay back his loan. Alma. So what do you see over here? Avruchi Ari Ba'almahu Vishari. Now, when he goes ahead and pays my bills, he's paying my loan, he's paying my shekel, so he's actually not benefiting me. What he's doing, he's basically chasing away, right? He's saving me from a loss. He's not adding to my assets, right? He's not giving me something. He's not giving me something that increases my bank account, right? All he's doing is he's chasing away a lion from my field to, say what? He's not giving me extra value. He's saving me from a loss. So saving someone from a loss is not the same as giving them money. I'm sorry?
The previous Mishnah does say it's the same thing.
That what?
If I save you the money in the rental, therefore it's chasing away a loss also.
If you right in the previous Mishnah. So let's see. So it's going to be machlokas, right? So we're going to be machlokas as to what this is.
In the end, it's one part.
So Mantana. So who was the author of our Mishnah? That our Mishnah seems to go right. So the other Mishnah we just had, right? That we said it was the sheet of Rebbe Eliezer, right? So this Mantana, so Rav Osha, Zo Divrei Chanan. This is the opinion of Chanan, right? And we'll soon see the machlekes of Chanan, which yes, same kind of from Ksubas. Yeah. From paying somebody. Yeah. So Zo Divrei Chanan. This is the opinion of Chanan, who basically says that a person goes ahead, a husband goes off to sea, and he's obligated to go ahead and support his wife, and no one's going to support his wife. And the guy says, okay, I'll go ahead and support it now. I'll go ahead and collect it. Khan says, you just did. You basically just put your money on the head of a deer. You're not going to get it back. So, Divrei Chanan. And therefore, according to Chanan, right? And so, according to Chanan, right? So, since he's not, the guy loses money. So, therefore, I don't have to pay him back. So, if Rami goes ahead and pays my loan, right? Or he goes back and he pays my shekel, he can't turn to me and say, you owe me money, right? I didn't tell you to do it, right? I didn't obligate you to do it. So therefore, you didn't do me any favors. You chased away.
He's a nice guy.
Right? You got rid of my loan. Okay, fine. And we'll soon see why he didn't have to go ahead and pay those things. Why he didn't consider really he's saving. Let's see. And Rav Amar Afilu Tema Divrei Kol, even according to everybody. All right, even if it's according to everybody, Gabi Mudar Hana Diyav Almanash Lifro. In the case of Mudar Hana, right, we're talking about where I borrowed money from Alan, and I said, I will borrow money from you, but I'm going to try and pay you back. But if I don't pay you back, I'm not paying you back. If I have money, I'll pay you back. So Alan says, okay, I'm a nice guy. You're struggling. So fine, here's the money. So Lamaisa, I didn't have to go ahead and pay him back. Avrami went ahead and paid him back. He didn't save me anything because the Lamaisa, I didn't have to go ahead and do it. We also find by the Machzah Shekel that the one goes ahead that even if the person didn't separate his Machzah Shekel and the money didn't arrive in Yerushalayim yet, everybody is still covered under the Karbanos are brought on behalf of everybody, right? So since they're brought on behalf of everybody, he's not losing out, right? I wouldn't have to go ahead and pay it otherwise. I wouldn't have to go ahead and pay back the loan otherwise. So therefore, we're talking about a case of where he pays it, right? He pays it, and and this is according to Rava, right? So that was Rava who says, according to Divrei Kol, we're talking about a case of he wouldn't have to pay it, and according to Chanan, we're talking about a case of that it would have been my responsibility, but if you paid it, that's on you, that's not on me. So my Chanan, what's the case? So Chanan did try with the Mishnah. Right? So someone at the Midas Yam and didn't leave his wife over money for support, and someone got up and supported his wife. Chanan Aimer, Ivedas Ma'isa. So he says he lost his money, right? He can't go ahead and claim it back. And next we'll go love Bnei Kohanim Gedolim. So the Bnei Kohanim Gedolim argue, but no, Yeshava come out no, he has to go ahead and swear how much he paid, and then he can go ahead and collect it. And says, no, Lamaisa, you were supposed to pay, Mr. Husband. You're not a good husband, and I paid on your behalf. This is he swore how much he paid, and then therefore he can go ahead and collect it from the husband. And Amar Rabbi Daisi ben Hirkalis Kedivrehem, and says over there, Rabbi Daisi ben Hirkalis says Kedivrehem rules like them in their case. And Amar Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai Yafam Chanan. No, Chanan said, well, Heniach Ma'asav al Kerat Tzvi, right? It's like a person leaves his money on the horns of a tzvi. He basically, he loses his money. So now we had a machlekes between Rava, why did I forget it? Rava and Rav Hoshia as how to explain our Mishnah according to who. So we say Rava Rav Hoshia, Rava who said Kedivri Akol didn't say Rav Hoshia. Why did come Kedivri Akol? He wanted to establish it a case according to everybody. Everybody would agree with that Mishnah because we're talking about a case where the guy didn't have to go ahead and necessarily go ahead and pay it back. And since he did not have to go ahead and pay it back, so therefore he didn't save me any money. So therefore everybody would agree that I did not get benefit from it. Why did he like Rabba? Because what? Yes, in a case of a loan where I didn't have to go ahead and pay back, he didn't save me anything. But people might think, let's say it was a loan where I had to pay back, and it was a case of Mudar Hana, and he goes ahead and pays. People would think, oh, he can go ahead and pay it, and it's okay. It's not a violation of the neder. But it is a violation of the neder because I would have to go ahead and pay back. And since I would have to go ahead and pay back, therefore I am benefiting from him. So therefore, since we're worried that people might go ahead and pay back in the case of a loan, which is collectible versus one that's just not collectible. So therefore, Rav Aisha did not want to say like Rav, and he says, okay, much easier to say that a Mishnah going to Chanan, and it covers all types of loans because he's just preventing a loss as opposed to actually benefiting. And Machzila also, and he goes ahead and he returns his lost item. So right? We're only talking about a case where the nechasim of the machzer, right? In other words, if we're talking about when one says, okay, all your possessions are also upon me, right? The nichse machzer asurin al balaved. If I say, right, my nechasim are asur to Avrami, right? Machzer asur al bal. Excuse me. Shenichse machzer asurin al balaved. So when Avrami's possessions are asur to me, he can go ahead and return my items. Because therefore, Avrami's items are asur to me. So therefore, if he returns his items to me, my lost item to me, he's just giving me back that which was mine, right? He's not returning anything. He's returning me my own thing. So therefore, I'm not benefiting from him. It was just my wallet was over there. Now my wallet's in my hand. So thank you very much, but he didn't give me anything. But if my nechasim were asur to Avrami and he finds my wallet and he says, oh, let me do Hashavas Aveda, then Avrami cannot return that item to me. Why? Because he's benefiting from the concept of Pruta de Rav Yosef. What is that? All right, so the Pruta de Rav Yosef is that if a person is involved in a mitzvah, right, so then he doesn't have to go ahead and perform other mitzvahs. So let's say I'm going ahead and I'm doing a mitzvah, so someone comes to tzedakah, I'm potter for giving tzedakah because I'm involved in another mitzvah. So therefore, if Avrami is involved in Hashavas Aveda of my items, right? So therefore, if he's involved with Hashavas Aveda, so therefore he's potter from giving tzedakah. So if someone comes and says, hey, I need some money, Avrami says, I can't right now, I'm busy, I'm returning this lost item. So therefore, Avrami is benefiting of returning my lost item because he's potter, he's saving money from giving from Pruta Rav Yosef. That's called Pruta Rav Yosef. The Chadamar, I feel the next about Aveda, Asur al Machzer, even if my items we're usher on Avrami, he could still return it. Why? We should put the Rav Yosef. He's benefiting from my items. We should put the Rav Yosef right? That is not common, and therefore, since it's not common, it's not a real hana, and therefore, even though my items are usher to Avrami, he is still allowed to go ahead and return my items to me. All right, we'll stop here.
Wow.
Okay.